Hey y'all, it's Randy at TechRescue, and today I'm going to show you how TechRescue configures the iThemes security plugin free version. So we use these videos that we make for in-house training, and we like to keep them fairly generic so we can go ahead and share them with the world, because we know there's a lot of people out there who do the same things that we do and might find some of these videos helpful. So there may be some settings in here that you may want to tweak or change yourself as you get to know the iThemes security plugin a little better, but I'm just going to go through the basic settings that we use and the ones we use when we train our team members how to set up a new site. So this will take us about 5 or 10 minutes, so let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so I just installed the plugin a few minutes ago, and as soon as I clicked activate, it brought me back to this page here. So you'll see at the top it's saying that we need to get the free API key. We need to do that so it can share IPs with the network and basically help you have better protection. So let's go ahead and click on the free API key. Alright, so it's going to come here. This email address doesn't really matter. This is not an actual real email address. I'm going to copy it because I'm going to use it for some other things here in a minute. But anyway, the email address doesn't matter. They don't check it, and so I'm going to uncheck the receiving the email updates. Since it's not a real email address, why waste their time? Anyway, so just go ahead and put an email address there and click Save Settings. Alright, and it'll come back to the settings page, and you can scroll down to the network brute force protection and check what it did, and it will automatically ban IPs reported as a problem by the network. I would say if you have an existing iThemes plugin set up, to go ahead and make sure that you have this set up first, because this allows the sharing of the bad IPs like I mentioned a few minutes ago. Alright, so back to the settings page. You'll want to scroll up to where it says security check, and this is going to enable several things right off the bat in one fell swoop. So go ahead and click secure site. You can say close. One of the things it did was turn on database backups, which we don't use unless you have somebody on site that's familiar with that. It won't be very helpful. So go ahead and click disable. Also, before you do that, make sure you have another backup solution. We use all-in-one WordPress migration, and so we don't really need these database backups. If you don't have another backup, you may want to keep those turned on. Alright, so go back up here to global settings. Two things you'll want to change in here is you're going to want to change the lockout period to 6,000 minutes, and you want to add yourself to the whitelist, especially if you're on a shared host. Most of our sites are on our own web server, but some of our sites are on shared hosting, and if you don't have access to the back end, it can be a royal pain in the butt if you lock yourself out, especially if your username gets leaked out to the dark webs, if you will. So anyway, be sure to put yourself on the whitelist. Click Save. Okay, now you want to come over here to the Notification Center, and you'll want to check where it says All Administrator Users, and we're not using database backup, so we're going to skip that. We do like to get a security digest that's a daily security digest. You can actually change that to weekly, which is just as fine. And then I would not turn on this. You want to uncheck site lockouts, else you'll get hundreds of emails every single day. And I'm going to go ahead and put in here the Whiskey Tango Tavern email that it's coming from. If you do an email here like this, then in your filter in Gmail, you can have them all go to one place and keep them out of your inbox. Alright, so I'm going to put this back to daily and click on Save Settings. Alright, so moving right along. Now you may want to turn on 404 detection. We do a lot of SEO, and we have plugins specifically for 404. Detecting 404. So I don't like to turn this on because I don't want to create a conflict, although you may find the need to turn on the 404 detection. Away mode has to do with turning it off at night or in the early hours of the morning. We're a mobile based company. with remote workers, so typically not a good idea for us to have a away mode turned on. Banned users, specifically that is used by the software to keep track of IPs as they're banned. You can add some on, if you figure some out. I've never really used that, so I would just leave that alone. All right, we are moving right along. File change detection. In a very highly infected situation, you may want to turn that on. We typically don't turn it on unless we need to. File permissions just shows you the permissions as they should be and as they are, and that's good also in an infected situation when you're trying to get control of the site. Typically we don't mess with that unless there's an infection. Alright, so local brute force, we have a few things in there we want to configure. Alright, so actually just two. We're going to change the lockout period to 6,000 minutes. And then we're going to immediately ban any host that tries to log in with the admin username, which is like 99% of all bots. It's almost kind of fun to watch. Alright, so go ahead and save that. We've already configured the network brute force. Password requirements. Alright, so I like to enable that for all users. This is basically the minimum role, and it will make users, if they haven't logged in, next time they log in, it'll make them up their game as far as their password goes. You don't want to have somebody have a weak password who's just like an editor on your site, and then your whole site gets hacked because of some thing that's a vulnerability that's been found or whatever. So good passwords are crucial. Alright, so SSL. SSL would kind of be a whole nother video, but this is where you turn on SSL for the back end, HTTPS. You can also turn it on for the front end. Like I said, I'll probably just do another video. This site's not configured yet for it, so it would break the site, so I'm not going to touch that. Alright, so system tweaks. I'm going to go ahead and enable that. Configure. We're going to protect the system files. All this does is make sure that permissions are turned off for the public, basically, to be able to see these particular files. We're going to disable directory browsing. We don't want people to be able to, go to some site like /wp-admin on some folder like wp-admin on our site and be able to see what's there. Most of these I leave as is. There's a couple I like to turn on. Some of these can break plugins, so if you're getting hacked a lot, or if your site has been infected, you may want to turn some of these off. You may want to turn some of them on and kind of play around with them, but these are the ones. I'm going to go ahead and turn that on, and then we can turn this on too. We don't use the WordPress REST API. And I want to disable PHP and uploads. Once again, in an infected situation, you may want to change some of these other things, but they can also break your plugins or themes. And these are the ones that we use. So there we go. And boom. Alright. Alright, so WordPress salts. WordPress comes with, these are used in encryption and things like that. I'm not sure exactly, but you want to change, because right now you have the default ones when you download and install WordPress. So we're going to change those. It's going to log me off, make me log back in. And yes, I'm going to change this user in just a little bit. We think this has been released out into the wild as being a user for this site. We're getting a crap ton of login attempts on this particular username, so I'm going to delete it after this video, create a whole new one. Alright, so let's go back to the security settings right there, and we just have one more to go. And this one is where I pretty much check everything on here. Some of these things, like if you use LiveWriter or if you use the XML RPC, you may not want to check, but I check all of these because we don't use those. Disable the file editor. That's where you actually can edit the file for like CSS and things like that. If you have any kind of back-end access, you can do all of that in Control Panel. If you don't, if you're just on shared hosting with no back-end access, you'll probably want to just disable, you'll leave this unchecked. But I like to have it checked unless we need it. And then down here you want to go and put all of the recommendeds and disable login, error messages, force users to choose a unique username that keeps people from being able to, find folders and things like that on the back end. Disable if the user's posts count is 0_blank pages. We're going to alter those so they don't tab nap. And then we also want to prevent attachment thumbnails from traversing to other files. Alright, click Save Settings, and basically that's it. So those are the settings that we use, at least to start, when we are configuring a brand new site with the iThemes security plugin free version. Now you'll notice there's some more settings down at the bottom. These are all for Pro, and we don't usually use that. We use Word Fence for some of the other Pro settings. If you're into this and need help, I would suggest searching for other YouTubers that use the Pro version on that, because we're just sticking with the free version for now. Alright, so that's it. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to let us know down below. Also, click that notification bell and subscribe if you want to get notified when we post new content. Thanks so much for tuning in. Y'all have a great rest of your day.